All right, have at it.
Hey, I was wondering, when you've got a roster like this, and you've got so many guys that can't play because they're sitting out or whatever, and you're thin, obviously, do you get personally more time to work with guys individually in practices or throughout the season? Or
I would say probably not the way most of our individual stuff is primarily done during the off season.
Okay.
But if you're talking about doing more stuff with Charlie and Diedrich and KJ, I'd say the answer is yes. Like yesterday, that was a good day.
Sure.
You know, the other guys didn't practice, but you know, the focus was on the guys that didn't start. So yeah, maybe a little bit with those guys, but not with your
regulars.
No. The advantage is, if there is an advantage, is when we practice at home, you can keep your core 7 or 8 together all the time.
Oh, yeah.
So a lot of times, if you only got 10 guys out there, you're switching jerseys and doing that stuff. So that may be a little bit of an advantage in keeping your team together, spending more time with your team that could possibly play,
sure,
than having to switch jerseys a lot.
What are the transfers standing out to you right now, if anybody?
They're all about the same. I think they've all had good years. I really believe Charlie and KJ are tremendously improved, and Diedrich is, you know, we don't have anybody guarding, so you know, he's really a talented, very skilled guy.
Having so little time to try to catch up, what are the hardest things that maybe some of us don't even notice for Silvio to become instinctive for him?
Well, it could be a lot of things. It could be, you know, being able to react and not think is usually takes time, but it could be like on a defensive thing. If we're watching him play, if he was playing the 4 or the 5, it may not seem that much, but do you want to switch 4 like we practice every day whenever Silvio's having to guard, you know, Keenan Evans or Carter? And the answer would probably be no. So how do you work it with everybody else, knowing that we're going to play different just for the small amount of time that he's in the game? And is it worth practicing all that time just to get to the point where you may do something in the game or you may not do it? That to me is the biggest hang up with him. Spending all the time for him knowing, you know, I always thought we're better off running 5 or 6 plays with him and 2 or 3 out of bounds plays and that kind of stuff. And he's picked some stuff. He's picked that stuff up good, but I don't think that he's had a fair chance having the feel to play with others like those others do. You know, through the summer, through pickup games, through the fall. I do think that's made a difference, and I don't think that he's as confident, although he's shown flashes without question, is confident going to make plays when he knows that maybe his role out there would be just don't kind of screw it up. And I think that's hard to play sometimes. And you know, we haven't told him that, but in his mindset, you know, obviously that's got to be what he's thinking.
Saturday, I'm assuming your approach as far as minutes for guys go won't change.
No, not at all. No, not at all. No, we're not playing for anything to help us in the Big 12 tournament, obviously, but this has, you know, potentially national implications, you know, depending on the seed lines and stuff like that. So certainly we'll play to win.
Coach Devontae is semifinals for the Wooden.
What does that mean? How many make semi? 10, yeah.
Could you discuss his emergence as, you know, candidate for National Player of the Year type performances right now?
Well, I didn't think that going into the last probably 10 days, I wouldn't think that he would be a candidate for National Player of the Year. I thought he'd be a candidate to make an All-American team. But there's a big difference between being turn it up so everybody can hear it. I think I do think he has emerged as a candidate. Now, not a leading candidate, in my opinion. But depending on who knows what's going to happen in the next 10 days. If he plays as well as anybody in the country the next 10 days, he may be a guy that could win an award or two in that area. But I do think, without question, he's positioned himself to be heavily considered for first-team All-American.
Does it make it more impressive? You've had guys that have done that, but does it make it more impressive when he's following Frank? Or
I would say no. I would say what we should kind of look at is how good Frank had it
Yeah.
having Devontae
Yeah.
next to him.
Yeah.
Then we should also look at it is how good Devontae has been, considering he does not have Frank next to him. And that's not a knock to Malik or anything, but it's totally different. Malik is a prototypical two guard. I mean, he's not a point guard. He's not a guy that initiates or anything. But in the years past, Frank could guard the other team's best player, but it probably wasn't our goal going into a game to wear him out the first half guarding the other team's best player. Hey, Devontae, you got to score the points. You got to take the shots at the end of the clock. You got to do all the talking. We're not going to sub for you, and you're going to guard the other team's best player the whole time. And so, to me, from a coach's standpoint, you have to respect that.
Oklahoma State, there's a revenge motive there. They're a great offensive rebounding team. What else do you see?
Well, they're playing, I see them as being, having a chance to get in the tournament. I do. If they go 8-10 in our league, how could they not be under serious considerations if you go 8-10 in our league? And we're talking about everybody else in our league getting in at 8-10. Why shouldn't Oklahoma State be considered? I mean, if they beat us, they would have beaten Kansas twice, Texas Tech, and West Virginia. So they would have had 4 wins against the best 3 teams in our league, and they would have had a huge non-conference win against Florida State. So I think they deserve to be in the conversation, and so they'll have a ton to play for, and revenge may be part of it, but I hope our mindset is to go down there and show them a team that they didn't see here in Lawrence, because they didn't see the best of us, in large part because they whipped us. But I'd like for them to see a much better team in Stillwater.
Do you think the guys know about the streak of never being swept in the Bill Self era?
I have no idea. I don't know if LeGerald and Malik are laying awake at night thinking, God, I really want this for coach. I don't think that's under consideration. So if they know about it, they know about it. But that's not going to be anything that will be motivation for them.
Is that stat?
They may be mad enough at me that they'll say, okay, this is a good way to get it out. So.
Is that stat pretty astounding?
I don't know. It is, I guess. But back when it was north-south, you didn't play as many, home and homes as what you do now. But I know it's been like I think Brian said it's been like 100 series or 101 series, and so hadn't been swept. So certainly, going to Texas Tech and going to Stillwater isn't the remedy you would think to give you the best chance to keep that streak intact. But we got an opportunity if we play well.
Marcus Garrett really coming on, you rarely are surprised by anything your kids do. Is he even surprised you on what he can do shooting from the perimeter?
No. He was never as poor a percentage shooter as what his stats showed, but he's not ready to be a really good percentage shooter yet. He's still some time away in the gym, and some from becoming a consistent threat. But he has improved it so much, even though he takes limited shots, that you got to guard him. And I thought against Texas the other night, I thought he's fabulous. And he was great against, he scored 2 points, I think, against Tech. I could be wrong. But I thought he was one of our better performers against Tech as well. So he's on an uptick.
When they were laying off of him and, basically saying, go ahead, shoot it, I know you guys talked about just drive it, be athletic.
Yeah.
Was it hard to convince him of that, or did
No, he's not hard to. Marcus, it's not hard to. It would be hard to convince some players of that, but Marcus' ego is such. He just wants to do what he can to help his team win. He wasn't his leading scorer in his high school team.
Yeah, right.
So I mean, it's not like that's how he's built. Some guys are built that way. Some guys would say, hey, I can make that shot. And I said, I know you can make it. You can make it 1 out of 5 times. That's good enough to get beat. But you can't really express that. Marcus is a guy, no, I understand that. Right. Why would I, if he's on a roll or Devontae or whoever's on a roll, why wouldn't we try to get them a shot first? He understands that. But he has gotten a lot better. And teams are going to have to start guarding, we hope, going down the stretch, because he has been much better on that end.
It also seems like these guys have really figured out, let's look to Udoka whenever possible. Yeah. Do you feel like that's improved in the last few weeks?
I did until Texas Tech.
Yeah.
And we didn't throw it to him at all at Texas Tech because the pressure kind of pushed us out. But no, I do think the guys are playing through Doak more. I do, and you know, he's without question playing the best ball he's played all year.
What do you think when you see this field goal percentage number? Like, did you have a number when you started the season?
No.
Hey, we hope he hits this. And...
No, we don't. I don't ever think like that.
Yeah.
Maybe with a guard, say, man, if he could shoot 38 to 40 from three, that would be a huge bonus. But I've never thought that with a big guy. First thing you think of, well, he's not getting enough shots. Then you go back and look at it. How many shots has he actually scored that's outside of 3 feet? I mean, not many. So we got to figure out ways, and we got to become better passers and ways to get him the ball in tight. He's improved a tremendous amount. His attitude's been great. There's so many positives that he's done, you know, considering his age and his lack of playing, you know, all through his lifetime. You know, he's really starting to pick things up, and the light's coming on now.
It didn't hurt you, but you mentioned the free throws the other night.
Yeah, they did. That was just, yeah, they didn't look good at all.
Yeah.
I mean, and after watching it and everything, there was a breakdown fundamentally. Not that it's going to be perfect, but it's so much of it's repetition, and he reverted back to doing some things that he had before. And so when you revert back to doing some things, you combine that in with doing different things now, it didn't look very good. So, but he's worked hard on it since then, and hopefully he'll be more consistent, you know, moving forward.
Bill, how would you evaluate with Gerald over the past couple of weeks, and what kind of do you want to see from him heading into the postseason?
I think LeGerald's kind of like our X factor. You know, when he's really good, he gives us a whole different element as a team because he can drive it, he can force help, he can shoot it. He could be as good a perimeter defender as we have and everything. And so I don't think he's played poorly. I don't think he's played as consistently well as what he was early in the season. But hopefully he'll get that back, you know, here at the end.
I think you can take it for granted, but when you guys shoot open threes, it seems like they go in a lot. Can you just speak to what it does when you have 4 shooters on the court for a coach, for an offense? Like, how does that help?
Well, we also shoot a lot of guarded shots that don't go in. I think that one of the biggest problems we've had this year is you give guys so much freedom. Our shot selection hasn't been great all the time. But when we do take good looks, you know, we do have a better chance to go in, and we shoot a lot more threes when Doak's in the game. Yeah, at least I think we do. You'd have to look at those stats, and that's because, you know, he draws interest down there because of his ability to score. And so it seems like with Mitch in the game, we get more driving the ball. But Doak is a guy that basically opens things up for others. It's hard to double team him, and when they do, you know, he's gotten better passing out of the post. Still not where he needs to be, but you know, we've always said, you know, when you pressure out, you know, your pressure release a lot of times when you're throwing it to your big guy, and having a big guy in there that forces dives, that forces different looks, I think it's done wonders for having our perimeter shooting. You know, the hardest thing to guard is 4 shooters around the big. I mean, Jankovic told me that a long time ago. Every 4-man we recruit should be a 3-point shooter because that's the hardest thing to guard. And you know, we're doing it a little bit differently. We're taking it to a whole extreme, saying no, we don't need a 4-man. We're just going to play 4 guards that can shoot. And you know, it's worked out. You know, it doesn't always work out well, but it's worked out okay so far.
You say sometimes that the fun part of it is the challenge before that you're trying to figure out how to get things to work. You play more 3-point shooters now. I mean, has that been kind of interesting and the challenge to figure out how this new 4-guard offense looks?
No, you know, I think last year really helped us because we planned on playing Carlton and Landon or Udoka as our starting bigs the whole time. And then you got Mitch and you got Colby and everything. But we had a 3-man that was obviously probably the most gifted kid on our team that could do everything that a guard can do, but he could also do everything as a big can do. So that was easy to move him in to that spot as our 4-man because he was still a guard. This year has been a little bit different because we don't have a guard that can do the things that a big does. And so, you know, when teams, when we say that we can't play or this would be a tough matchup for us, try to flip it to say how do we make it a tougher matchup for them. And you know, it doesn't always work out, but you know, it's worked out its fair share. And the fact that you got 4 guys that can stretch it, and you know, at least a third of the time, he's going to be one of those guys is going to be chased around by 6'9" or 6'10" guy sometimes can play to your advantage.
What is the path for a number 1 seed for you this season? What do you have to do the rest of the way?
Well, I think if we were to win, I think that we would put ourselves in a great position. I was asked this earlier. I believe there's 7 or 8 teams, maybe more, maybe 9. I don't know how many exactly that are in play for a 1 seed, and I think we're one of those. And whether or not we're on one line now, who knows with the ACC champion? Virginia's going to get a 1 seed. Somebody from the Big East is going to get a 1 seed, maybe 2 people. So the whole deal is, Michigan State runs the table in the Big Ten. How can they not be a 1 seed? I mean, you can look at it a lot of different ways. So the only, a lot depends on what other people do, but also we kind of control it though, in my opinion, because we got so many good wins. I think we have 18 or 19 wins against the top 100. That's a lot of wins, and I think we're like second in the country, the most top 50 wins or something like that. So we put ourselves in a good position. But if we don't finish strong and somebody else does, we don't deserve it. So I think the only path is to win.
Would you rather be a number 1 and maybe have to travel a little farther away, or would it be better to be a 2 or 3 and stick a little bit closer to home?
No, I think locations are way overrated. I mean, it'd be nice if we're able to stay close to home in Wichita or whatnot, but I don't think that, last year we had an opportunity and we didn't make the most of it, and we'll never have a better home court opportunity than we did last year playing in Kansas City. But I also think sometimes when that happens and you're not playing well, it can also add pressure and stuff. So to me, it's just, hey, wherever it is, doesn't make any difference.
You mentioned you think Vic's kind of an X factor. I mean, what is it about him that when he plays well, do other guys just enjoy seeing him have success? Or I mean,
oh yeah, I think so. I do. I do. Everybody enjoys when the other guys have success, but when I say X factor, what could potentially he do that maybe he hasn't done as consistently lately? I mean, they're like, okay, Doak can go from here to here, and Devontae can go from here to here, and other guy, Gerald's got he can go. There's a pretty big gap. So I really think that's what I mean by X factor. He can really elevate our team play.
Coach, a few weeks ago, you kind of talked about this team's toughness, and it was a concern. Is it much of a concern now, and have you seen improvement, and are you where you want these guys to be as far as?
I think that we've improved in that area. We've had to improve in that area because we've had some good, tough wins. But I still think, the other day we played Texas. I mean, that was a game that they were beat up and everything, and we had control of the game and didn't put them away. To me, that's an element of that, just a little bit. But I do think that we're better than we were. But you look at certain things, rotation, rebounding, and things like that, and you got 6'5", 190 blocking off. Therefore, they're 5-man. That you got to be tougher than what we are in a lot of ways in order to physically compete when you're not as strong. And that's what I'm talking about. And I don't think we've consistently shown that we can do that. Over a period of 2 or 3 weeks. I think we have shown that we definitely can do that within games. But I'd like to see it be more of a mindset. And we're gaining on it, but we're not there yet.
Bill, I think you nailed it. You said, we asked you before Big 12 play started what record you thought might get a piece of this. I think you said 14-4, probably clearly outright, maybe 13-5 even.
Yeah.
What was it maybe back then that led you to believe that a 16-2 wasn't really realistic and that those lower numbers maybe were there?
Well, I first of all thought the league was too good for anybody to go 16-2, and I didn't think there was a team in the league good enough to go 16-2. To play in the best league in the country, and I shouldn't say that, because other people could disagree. To play in probably the most competitive league in the country, to think that when there's no bottom half of the league, that over a course of 18-game season that you would only not play well twice, I think is a pretty pie in the sky thought. So I didn't think that we could do that, nor did I think anybody else could do that, just because I thought there was too much balance and the teams were too close together. We're what, 13-4 now, how many of those 13 wins have come down the last 2 minutes? Most. I mean, so we could easily be, 9-8, 10-7, that kind of stuff. So I don't think there's that much difference in the teams.
Do you buy in at all to the close wins helping in the postseason, having played so many close games?
Yeah, I think you can buy into it. Whatever situation you're in, you should buy into it. Okay, and that's exactly what we need. Billy Tubbs asked me when we won in 2008. He asked me what our point differential was going into the NCAA tournament, and I told him he knew that because he'd followed. Because we were averaging winning games by 20-something a game. We were beating conference teams by 50 or 40. I mean, so it was a little different deal, but the league was different then too. And he asked me, he said, "You can win it. You know why? Players aren't stressed. You haven't played many close games." That was his philosophy. And then you hear other people's philosophy. He said, "Guy, you've been in so many close games. That may help you." I don't know that there's an exact. Don't turn it over, make your free throws, stay out of foul trouble, and those are the things that'll obviously give you the best chance to win in the tournament.
What do you think of your former assistant coaches' seasons and their positioning for the tournament?
Barry finished second in the Valley. Joe's in the semifinals of the Atlantic Sun, and they're hosting, so he's got a great chance. Jenks had the worst luck of anybody in the country. There's not been a team more beat up than what SMU's been this year. He's had, and Danny. Danny's going to have to obviously play well in the ACC tournament, but they're so young. But basketball is such a fine line because one guy makes such a big difference. But here's Danny going into the season losing that stud he had last year, Collins, but knowing he's got this kid right there that can totally anchor everything, and a week before school starts he goes pro, overseas. So it's such a fine line in our sport because one guy can change your whole outlook. But our guys have done fine. Kyle Keller's right there to have a chance to win. Doc's had an up and down year, but for the most part they've done pretty well.
All right, Coach.